Welcoming you all in for a new season, not only of the NFL and its new expectations, hopes, and dreams for all 32 of its teams, but a new season of 4th and 4, your start to your week in the NFL. We're kicking off things week one. Zach Kyleman in here, beginning the hosting duties. New format, too, this year. You'll see as we get started, as I'm going to bring in the gents for this edition. We have the entire crew back for week one this time. It is a true 4-down scenario between the guys. As you can see on the screen, onto the top right corner, I got there DJ Stewart. Below me is Kelcey Coyne, and then we also have my good buddy Jim Meunier with me alongside. Fellas, welcome you back in. We've been doing a little prep for these shows. Got plenty of stuff fun in store for our first episode fully back. Some changes this year we'll be displaying. Season's here. Preseason's over. Things are getting serious. We're already game in. How are we all doing?
I'm glad it's back. Obviously, now let's clarify and say football's been here for a while. Zach, I know you're as a USFL guy. Jim, indoor football, arena football. You guys.
I'm rebelling right now. I mean,
yeah, I was gonna say Zach's already in the rebellious mood. But you know what? It is good for NFL season to be here because it's just as fun as the other leagues are. This one feels kind of like home, kind of tried and true. This one's. We all kind of know there's going to be some wacky stuff that happens, but at the same time, it's the same league that we all love to hate at the same, during the season.
It's comfort food.
Yeah, exactly. It's that food that you get during Thanksgiving that maybe you don't eat it during the rest of the year because you're just like, it's not time for it. This is time. This is NFL season. This is fantastic time to be back.
Love it. Well, great stuff bringing in. The Thanksgiving portion. Now you got me hungry a little bit.
I'm already hungry. I'm sorry. We went through some technical difficulties, and then I got hungry. What can I say?
Well, it's I guess leading things off. Any of you guys got game day plans for Sunday after we're out of here?
Immerse myself in all of the games recklessly.
Okay, DJs I could see.
NFL end zone. I don't know. Maybe going out. I don't know, but
okay.
I will get ready to watch the depression of the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's what I do every single season, and why not start it off right? So yeah,
kick things in the right direction. Huh? I understand.
At least we won't have a coach that'll kick the kicker.
Although you need a kicker first to kick a kicker.
Exactly.
I think I have a platter of wings sitting waiting for me right now. This is where I'm going.
Ooh, good call. I'll be making my usual trip down to Fat Dan's Chicago style deli here in Indianapolis to watch my Bears take on eventually the 49ers, which we will get to that game and many more later on with our picks, our own betting lines and props as we will do, and many more things coming at you here. To kick things off though, as we will start with the new format, much like last year, quarter number 1 is upon us. And with quarter number 1 brings you this week's main storyline. So far, we're going to be leaning right into that Thursday night football matchup. Every year starts off as the marquee one. You get the reigning Super Bowl champions coming in. They usually host, bring in a high-profile team they face on. This year, the Bills were the ones going over to L.A. Let's just say some storylines came to fruition. Some people were maybe more blown away at how things turned out. Some thought that would be a good game. It was for at least a first half. It was close. Second half, things fell completely off the wagon, or what seemed like it was going that direction in the first place, as the Bills did kind of thrash. They didn't circle the wagon. They encircled and snared the Rams in their wagon, winning 31-10 out in Los Angeles in SoFi Stadium. Things from that night, I got to say, it's one headline we have to ask about is what was more prominent from this game, gentlemen, the lackluster Rams performance or the Bills coming out and showing the world that they didn't lose a step after getting knocked out in that overtime loss last year.
I guess I'll start this one off. I'm going to say lackluster performance, period. Like, not just for the Rams, but for the Bills as well. I mean, it was an ugly game on both sides. There were so many turnovers. Basham, the defensive tackle, ends up with an interception during this game. Like, I mean, that just tells you how this game kind of went. Troy Hill returning to LA gets a pick on there. A former running back causes 2 fumbles. Let's not forget about that there. And Nate Scott, that's very, like this game all around was just kind of weird, wacky, and in its own right, kind of perfect to start out the season. But, it was fun to watch. I mean, I enjoyed seeing, Josh Allen still looking like he is mad because he lost a coin flip. And there were times there, Matt Stafford, if they could just have capitalized on the other side of the turnovers, that game would have been a much different game as well. So, I don't know. I just kind of in general, just it's a first game of the season, but at the same time, everybody was sloppy. Like I can't even blame it on one side or the other. It was sloppy all around.
Yeah, I will mention. I was kind of shocked it was 10-10, just because it did feel like Buffalo should have had a comfortable lead even going into halftime. Just felt things kind of, in my perspective, caught up with LA in the second half, where it's like, all right, we ran out of opportunities that were kind of being dropped at our feet. Buffalo's just doing what they were kind of doing already in the first half, except they're being slightly more careful this time around. Third and fourth quarter, they just did a little bit more. Still had some mistakes, but did a little bit more to finally get the scoreboard to light up faster.
I will say, normally you don't want to overreact to week one. I mean, last year, remember, Green Bay gets absolutely walloped by the Saints. 2 years ago, Tampa Bay gets absolutely walloped. Like, you don't want to put too much stock into week one. But the only thing that stood out to me is the Rams sure did miss Andrew Whitworth. That offensive line was put in hell all day. And I know Von Miller does that to a lot of guys, but everybody was feasting on Matthew Stafford and is just freshly cleared to play elbow. So that's one mild concern to look at as well. And it didn't matter if it's Cam Akers who was in the doghouse or Darrell Henderson or who was back there running back. There was nowhere to go. So that's the only, quote, little concern I have moving forward. But all it to kind of justify to us is the Bills, when they're on their game, good luck, everybody else. There's a reason they're the Super Bowl favorites, but heading into the season, even after they lost to the Chiefs, they were still somehow the Super Bowl betting favorite for this year. Like, everyone's high on the Bills for a reason, and we see why now. But that Rams offensive line, I'm a little concerned, just a little bit, maybe like a 3 out of 10. But normally after week one, you're a 1 out of 10. So
7 sacks on Thursday night. That is, for any team, it is beyond abysmal to have that happen. For a Super Bowl reigning champion, that is hard to fathom year over year, having that much of a downgrade. Although, again, Buffalo's front four this year very much upgraded and has a versatile weapon from that Rams defense. Jim, how'd you see this one, man? Two sides of the coin on here. I mean, and again, DJ's right. Overreactions, they do happen sometimes in week one.
It's overreactions. A lot of Bills fans think that their season last year was stolen from them. They should have been the team that went on to the Super Bowl. But one thing I can guarantee about St. Louis or LA, whatever, hashtag whatever, it's now the 4th consecutive home game that there's been more opposing fans in their stadium. So whose house is still their house because you can't fill your own stadium. And plus, that's the Bills Mafia going out there strong. Bengals fans outnumbered them in the Super Bowl. The Niner fans outnumbered them. But yeah, that's one thing Thursday night, you kept hearing the PA announcer, whose house? I'm like, oh my God, stop saying this because it's always the other teams because they travel better than you host a game. But overall, Josh Allen right off the bat, not his best game, but he still made enough plays to make a defensive back that's notorious for running his mouth a no-show. From my alma mater, Jalen Ramsey. The boy loves to run his mouth. He's been the worst DB in the NFL the last 3 games, in my opinion, for a team that is the LA. So, but then again,
a little spice there, huh?
Yeah, it's still a little hatred because of what he did here in my hometown, but still, Buffalo living up to their name. But again, overreaction. Like the talk here in town on Friday is, are the Rams this good? Are the Rams good? Are the Rams bad? Are the Bills great? Are the Bills just being a down team? You don't know. The Rams did what they did. They won the Super Bowl last year. The Bills were that close of getting to the AFC Championship game and a game away to winning the Super Bowl, whatever. But the Bills, in my opinion, if that's their bad game, I will be afraid to see their good game. But still, they're still early in the season, really, man. The Rams have a good squad. It's going to be tough to keep them down. It's just the irony when they kept saying whose house, and it's the opposing team's house because, again, there's more opposing fans there than theirs.
Well, not only that,
it's rent free. It's a rent free house at this point too. First
exactly.
Right. Well, and not only that, but I mean, it's the Chargers technically still were there. I mean, some fans exist out for the Chargers. It doesn't mean that it's just.
They all live in
There's a
San Diego.
reason the Rams went with that lighter color blue, and it's a little more shocking yellow. They're trying to just combine the two teams at this point in time. Like, we just all need to accept it. They're almost identical color schemes now. I mean, it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
But by the way, let's not forget Buffalo also. They're down. Their front four on defense isn't just a 4. It's like an 8-some or 12-pack. Like, they could just run bodies out there that are all terrifying. I mentioned Basham. He's their 8th defensive lineman that usually runs out there. So it's like, yeah, they're fine. It's going to be fun to watch the Bills.
Phillips is out there. Rousseau out there.
Von Miller. Ed Oliver, who, by the way, got injured earlier in the game with an ankle thing. And then
something to watch
we didn't
for.
see him. And it wasn't like they missed him that much. Like, that team is an embarrassment of riches.
And you got an all-pro corners waiting to come back into the game with Trey White as well, too, down the stretch. So good luck, everybody else.
Leslie Frazier.
Johnson, by the way.
Yes. Leslie Frazier's got to be thrilled that is his unit. And honestly, shout out to Ken Dorsey. I loved his game plan with LA. Don't even bother with waiting too long in the pocket. Get that thing out there. Make DBs and others that are playing off ball pay for those mistakes with quick passes, either slants in the middle or quick, like just basically hook routes. I saw a lot of those during that Thursday night contest. Seemed like their game plan was pretty solid, and they got the running game going really well. Devin Singletary has been slowly building back some street cred.
One of the best running backs over the last 5-6 games last year. Everybody slept on him, and now he's kind of been look out if he doesn't do what he did down the stretch last year. Maybe they don't sneak into the playoffs the way they did.
Maybe
so
could be the case. Let's keep moving this along here. We talk about in this game, new season, new teams or new team faces, of course, not only just from, free agency, not like a Von Miller, but rookies as well. We actually had 2 that made appearance that I noticed during on Buffalo's side, for one reason or another. Kyrie Elam, of course, in the secondary, James Cook, unfortunately, in a few instances, I'm afraid.
Both in negative situations, you saw them.
Yeah, maybe not want to talk about it that way, but then nonetheless, there's going to be rookies that in this class will stand out. Not all will be, of course, first rounders. Some of them will be the lower rounds that'll be making an impact in 2022. And I wanted to get all your guys' thoughts on the rookie in particular you might be having a keen eye on this year coming into the season. Which one? I mean, we'll go around the horn as you see it on the screen, starting from the top right. So DJ, who's your guy you're looking at?
Man, that's a very, very long list to pick from as well, too. But I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit because I'm going to take the guy that I've been really high on since he got drafted. I'm looking at Alec Pierce, the receiver for the Colts as well, too. You have no other weapons really there to stick out besides Michael Pittman and running the ball. So somebody's going to have to catch these Matt Ryan passes. He's tall. He's fast. He's the only guy in that playoff game against Cincinnati that Alabama even cared to bother guarding. They're just like, you know what? All right, Desmond, if you're going to throw touchdowns, anyone else go right ahead, but we're not concerned about them. So I look for him to step into a spot and maybe assert himself as a number 2, just fade routes, streaks, slants, just expanding the route tree. So give me Alec Pierce to maybe emerge as that number 2 receiver down the stretch for him as well. Big body, athletic, fast, and someone's got to catch a ball. Someone's got to start catching passes from Matt Ryan.
Yep, Alec Pierce helping to assist Matt Ryan's efforts, joining up with the Indianapolis Colts and trying to get a more stabilized passing attack this season for Indianapolis. Jim, who are you looking at this year? Who's a rookie you have highlighted that you're expecting to make an impact?
Well, everyone may expect me to go after the guy here in Jacksonville, but I'm not. I'm going to go with the quarterback Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh. I've seen Pittsburgh in 3 games so far this year, even live and in the 2 preseason games. Pittsburgh could not move the ball with the other 2 quarterbacks. When Kenny Pickett went in, they kept moving the ball up and down the field. It's only a matter of time till he gets his chance to start. And for the Steeler fans out there, I think they don't like Trubisky starting, and they see what Pickett can do. I think it's just a matter of time that Pickett gets the realms of Pittsburgh. So I'm going to watch Kenny Pickett. I'm not going to go up for more boy here in town. I think he's going to be good, but I want to see what happens in Pittsburgh because Kenny Pickett did well at the University of Pittsburgh, and I just want to see him get into an offense that is in Pittsburgh, especially with Najee Harris, to see what he can do as a starting quarterback.
Week 5 at the latest is when Kenny Pickett takes over. Bold prediction now, week 5 at the latest.
Classic cases we see each year. Young QB waiting in the reins and a frustrated fan base waiting to see if they can get that young guy under center. That's not the only one in the NFL too, by the way. But I don't see that. I'm with you, Jim. That's not going to be a Jimmy Garoppolo situation. I think they're going to get that one sorted out this year right out of the gate. Kelcey, who are you looking at in terms of rookie class? Who's the guy that's keen in your eye?
Yeah, I'm kind of with DJ on this. There's so many I could pick from, especially offensively on the ball. There's so many defenses you could look at as well. But I know he's injured right now. He's has a questionable designation for Week 1. But I still look at Drake London as the guy to watch. Yeah. I know it's kind of low hanging fruit to some people. The dude is the number one receiver at this point in time. There's no question about it. Until Calvin Ridley returns next year, he is going to be the guy carrying the torch for this team. Obviously, I hope they don't push him back too soon, but I think he has all the intangibles to be the next great receiver we see in Atlanta. Because if you think about the last 15, 20 years, we've had some great ones coming through there. Roddy White, obviously Julio Jones as well. Calvin Ridley, when he's playing, is fantastic. Drake London has an opportunity to be there, and he's other than Pitts, there's not a single real weapon at receiver there. So yeah, I like everything Drake London has going for him. As long as one of the quarterbacks could just put it in the vicinity of him, I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, London is one of those I think is on a lot of people's radar, not just of course in the NFL, but fantasy wise too. I imagine if we're talking on Jim's wheelhouse in this show, he's definitely going to be keeping an eye as a rookie class. The USC product, hoping to see if he can get some impact and give Marcus Mariota a few opportunities behind center, or maybe Desmond Ridder later in the year. Never know. That's not the QB I'm watching. By the way, I'm watching from Malik Willis. I see the same situation playing out like in Pittsburgh. He's waiting in the wings. That's a Ferrari. That to me looks like a Ferrari waiting in a garage to take the place of, I don't know, I mean, for Tannehill's sake, it's like
bug.
Yeah, maybe not a bug, a little more muscle, I guess. Maybe an old
Honda. How dare you?
An Oldsmobile. The old the grandparents' car, the old reliable, just gets the job done, gets you from point A to point B.
The Buick
Century.
There you go. Buick Across. I'll go with that.
I was going to say Toyota Corolla, but okay.
We'll go any of those options. Basically, you have a speedy, dynamic QB. Young, of course, needs the reps. And from preseason's sake, had Titans fans talking, geez, we need to get this guy out there soon. I am waiting on him, just as a fan of the game, I'm wanting to see this kid come out there and sling it around. The product from Liberty University. Can't wait to see him out there on the field. And Auburn. We know where what the draft helped him with. But yes, I'm got to point that out. If Kelcey's going to point it out, you guys know.
Yeah. I'm not going to leave that one. I'm not going to leave that one alone. He deserved to be Auburn's starting quarterback, and not Bo Nix. Yeah, I said.
No kidding. Well, folks, I'm going to move this one along due to our contained time. I'll give you my storyline of the week that you'll want to watch out for, something that I've been wanting to talk about, and I think is getting talked a little bit more about in the league. And it was brought up on Thursday Night Football. Preseason's place in football, it's been adapting, it's been changing. Coaches have started pulling starters more to the sidelines during the time because injuries. It runs the risk. You're playing in meaningless games. Sure, you don't need to have to put people in there to risk any certain injury or repercussions of. But I ask you this: we watched Thursday Night Football this week. Rams-Bills primed up is of course what should be an excellent game, but as we've all talked, there's some sloppy play. And the broadcasters even brought up there was some sloppy play. Sean McVay is notorious for sitting all his starters during the preseason. I ask this: should we reconsider? And I know that that's going to be really hard for some people to discuss because of the injuries, but if it helps people gel a little faster and you still want to get wins where you can. This league ain't easy to win, and any given Sunday still is a thing, no matter what team you're playing most of the time. You do have to think about it. I wonder sometimes if maybe, just maybe, we should reconsider having sometimes starters sitting, not all the preseason, but still have the tune-up game, the classic week 3. Maybe make it week 2 now with 3 weeks, Then make week 3 the proving grounds. Think about it. Just take that home with you as we wrap up our first quarter and we move into our second quarter. As we're going to give it away over to DJ with the betting odds, his bets of the week. Good sir, as we will see, you are the host of this quarter, and we have other hosts too as we move around the line. DJ, what you got for us?
Well, thank you ever so kindly, Zach. Now, we've talked a lot about storylines. Now we're going to talk about money lines. We're going to go into ways that you can win money if you were fortunate enough to be in one of those states that allows gambling. We're going to take a look at 3 games. We're all going to pick ourselves a bet from that one that we like, and we're going to get into one of a nice little parlay I put together here in a little bit as well, too. So when it comes to betting, there's a few things that you're looking for. You want ones that are sure blowouts, or you want ones that are sure shootouts with really wild odds. Those are 2 things that you always want to look forward to because those are the any given Sunday type of ones. So we're going to start with one that looks like it can be an absolute blowout. We're going to start with the Colts and the Texans, who on paper last year, the combined score of those 2 games was roughly 70-10. Those ones were blowouts to a T. So looking at that one, the thing that I look at that one, it's a 45.5 point over under. I'm smashing the under with a hammer like it is whack-a-mole because not just for no other reason than I still don't know if the Texans can hold up their end of the deal. The Colts can win 30-3 again. That is still not 45.5. It could be 20-24. That's still not quite 45.5. That requires both offenses to, I don't want to see be prolific, but be effective. So give me the under, smash that for 45.5 with the Colts and the Texans. We're going to go top to bottom off to my right. So, Zach, we're coming right back to you. Tell me what kind of bet we're liking for the Colts-Texans.
Colts-Texans. You know, I'm actually looking at a prop bet here for first touchdown scorer for this one. And I know that there may be some people think there's a little more popular option, but give me Brandon Cooks for the Texans. We're basing it on Caesars Sportsbook, 1,200 plus odds to get that one. I think that for that setup, I think there's a high possibility. There was some good chemistry with Davis Mills and him last year. He had a good place. Obviously, Cooks is more of the burner type, but for all the hype that's been coming out of Houston about Davis Mills' progression, I think you can't sway away from seeing how that might be an option as a touchdown scorer. Plus, Mills at home last season, 12 touchdowns to 1 pick when he was starting. The Texans at home are no slouch, and if they get the ball first, there's a high possibility that could happen. Obviously, you got Damon Pierce on there, making a lot of praise as of late too. I can see the Colts options. Of course, Jonathan Taylor and Pittman are a little higher up on this for odds, but I think for the risk-reward factor, Cooks might be your guy to take here. You might be walking away with a nice payoff for that one.
If he gets in there first, you might be cooking afterwards as well, too. So very nice bet out there, Zach. We'll definitely see how that one plays out. So, Kelcey, we're coming to you now. So what are we looking at for your prop bets for this game?
Yeah, I'm going to actually go back to our rookies we just talked about to watch. And, DJ, your rookie in particular, Alec Pierce. The over on his 3.5 catches right now is looking at plus 133. So if you have a parlay on this one as well, you're going DJ's under. Maybe you throw in Zach's, Brandon Cooks first scoring. But Alec Pierce for 3.5 catches, the number 2 receiver very likely in this game. With Matt Ryan throwing the ball, obviously you have the Nyheim Hines factor. You do have Michael Pittman as well. But I do think Alec Pierce is good for 4 to 5 catches at least. He's going to get at least that many targets, if not more, in this game, especially if this is either close or, they decide to air it out through the first half. He has all the opportunities to prove himself right now.
Absolutely. And most likely you will see Derek Stingley Jr. matched up on Michael Pittman for a lot of the game. And I'm not 100% sure who the Texans' number 2 corner is off the top of my head. So that could be a very favorable matchup for them as well, too. Jim, we're going to go and wrap up this one with you. What are you looking at betting wise from the Colts and the Texans?
Well, I'm hitting the prop bet of Houston getting the first turnover on the first drive, because here's the reason why. I did a quick little research here. Of course, my hometown team plays Houston multiple times a year, but I did not know that the Colts have a 32-8 overall record against the Houston Texans, and they're 8-2 in Houston over the last 8 games, and they have won every single meeting in Houston when Houston turns over the ball first. They will do that this time, this way again. So give me Houston and hit that plus 475 for an easy bet, because Houston is notoriously known to turn over the football first against the Indianapolis Colts.
Very interesting. A lot of good research on that one too, and that's even without the turnover to King Shaquille Leonard playing. A very good pick. All right, so we're going. If anyone wants to bet on this game, we got you covered. There's a whole lot of money to be made here. So we talked about one that on paper looks like a blowout. Now we're gonna go to one that looks a little bit like a shootout. We're gonna go with the Raiders and the Chargers, and I think this one, when I look at it, there's a lot to like about this one. There's a lot to not like about this one because both offenses are so prolific. So I'm gonna keep a very simple one. At plus 200, I'm looking at Gerald Everett as an anytime touchdown scorer, the tight end for the Chargers as well. obviously we all know Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, Devontae Adams, Hunter. Like there's 7 Pro Bowl caliber pass catchers between the two teams combined. I'm going to go with the underrated guy because there's some holes in that linebacker secondary spot for the Raiders that I think they put a lot of attention on the outsides for Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Joe Leverett could slip right up the middle for a touchdown, and it's an anytime touchdown too. It doesn't have to be early. It can be late. It can be anytime in between. And a plus 200 odds, not too bad. So give me Gerald Everett as an anytime scorer. And we're going to go snake order on this one. So, Jim, I'm going to go right back to you. What are you looking at for a prop bet in this game?
These two teams have met each other back-to-back seasons in some high-action, heart-pounding NFL football, especially the last game of the season that got the Raiders into postseason. Both games hit the under. Both games hit the under on their bets, by the way. But also another one that's been getting them with them is the point margin. The Raiders have covered every single margin against the Chargers over the last 2 seasons. So plus 150. Almost gave you the wrong number. Plus 155 for the Raiders to cover the spread. Against the Chargers.
Okay, I like it. It's always a close one, always a battle royale, so you can always expect even a close spread. It's going to be really, really close. And if it's a tie, that still counts as covering the spread too. And we almost saw a tie last year, so anything could happen. Kelcey, we're going to swing back to you now. What are you looking at for this game?
Yeah, much like you talk about Gerald Everett, the anytime scorer. I'm actually going with probably one of their most prolific guys, at least going over the top of people, Mike Williams. Giving him an anytime scorer plus 130 odds on that one. He has been showing him and Justin Herbert have a fantastic relationship. It was strong last year. Jim, you talked about that Raiders game last year, getting in, going down to the nitty gritty. A lot of his targets were to Mike Williams in that game. Obviously, down the stretch, Keenan Allen was sprinkled in there, but it was still a Mike Williams show for most of the game. And I think that relationship grows this year. I personally think Mike Williams is going to be the number 1 receiver by the end of the year. And, well, you got to start somewhere. So give me this week 1 anytime score plus 130 odds for Mike Williams getting in the end zone.
It's going to be tough for the Raiders to match up with him on the outside. That is for sure as well, too. And we'll see, they're going to have to hope they get to Justin Herbert before Mike Williams gets galloping down the field because good luck once he gets down there. So, Zach, we're going to head on over to you now. We'll go and wrap it up for this game. What are we looking at for the Chargers-Raiders prop bets?
Well, much like you're queuing in, this is feeling like it's going to be a shootout of the West, much like I think many of these AFC West games will be like this season. Justin Herbert, as we know, has become kind of a young gunslinger himself. And one that I really like is the over 2.5 touchdowns mark, plus 139 for Herbert. In this one, I think that is likely with the Raiders secondary. I don't think that you would have to really sweat too much on that one. I mean, and last year we were having similar outcomes as well for him in games like this. I mean, the end of the season, I mean, just talk about how the end of the year went with these two teams. I think you're going to see the same thing. They both loaded up, and they will be powder kegs in their own right. It should be a high-scoring game, which actually leads me into this, and I'm starting to kind of go, oh, you know what? These might be just simple ones I'm throwing a parlay on. Daniel Carlson has an over 2.5 on total extra points made, plus 129. Shoot, why not throw that on? I think that's easy to hit. If you're going to get a high-scoring game with these two, and I think it will be both hitting at least 30 points apiece, I could see Carlson getting 3 extra points and you hitting on that and taking a little extra cash back with you. Why not? Those two would be my ones. I'm throwing maybe a little cheddar on.
You know what? If Josh McDaniels doesn't decide, I'm gonna be greedy and go for 2 this whole game, like Mike Tomlin tried a few years ago, then that just might be an easy one to hit as well too. So excellent eye on that one. Looking at the kickers, not always where you look when it comes to these bets. So definitely sprinkle that one into your parlays. The last one, this one I like because it can be a blowout or a shootout, and it's about 50-50 each way. We're looking at the Packers and the Vikings, 2 teams. One of them looks like it took a step back. One of them, a lot of people think is going to take a big step forward this year. It all depends on your point of view and perspective. What I'm looking at that I like in this one is for the Packers, there's a lot of young receivers that nobody really knows what the heck to expect. So a lot of their odds are actually pretty decent. And the one that stood out to me, especially in the preseason and everything lead up, is Romeo Doubs, the young receiver. Plus 300 for an anytime touchdown. A 6'2 receiver that can gallop down the field and run. Similar to Christian Watson. Watson a little more freaky, but Watson has not practiced in a fortnight. Go ahead and give me Romeo Doubs to go in there for the anytime score of plus 300 to round out a nice parlay. I think he's going to be, even if there's no number 1 scorer or number 1 receiver for Aaron Rodgers, I think he's going to be the one, especially early on, because they have a rapport together more than those other guys. So give me Romeo Doubs plus 300 anytime touchdown. And as we know, Aaron Rodgers, you don't have to actually be open. You just have to be kind of like in the vicinity. He'll find a way to get you the ball in ways that make absolutely no sense. So that's the one I'm going with. And a young, inexperienced Vikings secondary. A very, very young secondary that's inexperienced, or Patrick Peterson, who's really, really old. So definitely some favorable matchups there. So this time we're going to let Kelcey go first with us. So give us your prop bets as we look at the Vikings and the Packers.
Yeah, so I'm sticking with the receiver theme here. I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson. Jay Jetta's he was probably the only person that could have touched Cooper Kupp last year, and what Cooper Kupp had a fantastic season. And the biggest reason was those touchdowns that Justin Jefferson kept scoring week in and week out. And Justin Jefferson first touchdown scored in this game, sitting at plus 750 odds. It seems crazy to me. Kirk Cousins always hits a play action pass to Justin Jefferson in the first drive. Whether they connect or not on it is a different story, but that is a play that is always in the books for the Vikings. And I look at this one and I just think this is an opportunity to be made because let's be honest, the Packers corners, that's not a great system as well. Like they may be young in Minnesota for their corners, but the Packers corners, I don't trust any of them really. I just at this point in time. So other than Yair is the only one. Sorry, don't give me that look, DJ.
Well, don't be spewing blasphemy now. Hold on, we got to get you back on track.
But yeah, Jay Jetta's plus 750 odds for first touchdown scored. It's just too much of an opportunity there.
And if they can keep Yair Alexander away from him, that's a really good shot as well too. Because there's very few guys that can keep up with him, let alone stop him. So Jim, we're gonna head on over to you now. What are we looking at for this Green Bay versus Vikings prop bet?
An easy bet, an easy money for you people out there. If you look at this past offseason, Aaron Rodgers has been jumping around a lot of people's podcasts talking about this league and about his statements of this league and their management of this league. I think we're going to get a pissed off Aaron Rodgers again this year. And if he does, he's going to be elite. So I guarantee you in the first drive of this year, he's going to score a touchdown. So the bets for, again, easy money. Green Bay Packers with their first drive, get a touchdown plus 290.
All right. So doing what they do as well as just about anybody the last couple of years, find their ways to pay dirt as well too. And Aaron Rodgers, the head counts. And if he is pissed off, good luck everybody else. So Zach, go ahead and round us out on this one. What are we looking at and what could be a battle for the North?
I think you're talking on the inexperience of the receiving core for Green Bay, which will be hard for me to keep tabs on in terms of just like holding true to this bet because Aaron Rodgers still will find ways to get people open and get just enough catches. But I do want to I think I will lean on the under touchdown passes mark at plus 143. And the only reason I'm going to do this is because the experience of the core, Allen Lazard's not going to be in for this game, or at least he's doubtful right now, which probably will mean he's not there. Add in the fact that you have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon to lean on. You just got to get down there. That to me is what I'm looking at. I think you can get down. If you get down there, you lean on your running back duo to either pound the rock in or just basically do the black and blue division style of bruising the other side of the ball. That's where I'm thinking. It's going to be odd for me to say it because I do think that it's also possible for Rodgers, of course, to hit those the 2+ TDs you need to break the over. But if I were to take an under in this case, because of the scenario he's in, because of the setup for this year's Packers roster, and for the scenario that they have without Lazard in the lineup, I'm going to go with that under just because I think this is your best chance to get that set under.
Absolutely. There's a good chance we see A.J. Dillon's thick tree trunk legs find their way into the end zone as well, and that might be all they needed. They control the clock, and that defense does what they drafted all those defensive players to do in the first round the last 3
you and I can tag team. Dobbs will get that TD, but he'll help the under guys as well. So, both of them are going to be rooting for each other. Yes.
All right. Yeah, while the Packers first drive is the touchdown, and Jay Jettis gets the opening touchdown of the game. So somehow these all come to fruition, and everyone will make a lot of money. So those are the 3 games we're looking at for bets. Now we're going to get into DJ's best bet. And for this one, we're putting together a 3-part parlay each week. We're going to have one that feels relatively hit, can't miss, one that's likely, but we'll have to see. Then we're going to have one that's a little out there to add a little bit of money to the back end of it. So first part of this one, I'm looking at the Ravens versus the Jets, a 6.5 spread. Give me the Ravens to run away with that, assuming Lamar plays. If he pulls a fast one over the contract and decides he doesn't want to play, which don't blame him, but at the same time, if he's out there, they're going to run through the Jets. You're going to get an angry Lamar. You're going to get a Jets team that is rebuilding with Joe Flacco at quarterback as well, too, not even Cougar Hunter himself. And I think that's good. They're going to run away with it as well. So look for the Ravens to cover that easily. Our intermediate one, Chris Olave, the rookie receiver for the Saints. Give me an anytime touchdown score for the rookie out of Ohio State. I think a lot of people forgot just how good he is with Jackson Smith and Jigba's explosion last year and Garrett Wilson really coming onto the scene. Look for Chris Olave, who won't be matched up on A.J. Terrell a lot, who will probably be following Mike Thomas. There's not a whole lot else on that Falcons defense to be concerned about. So I like the idea of Chris Olave getting into the end zone, especially because he is a very, very adept at getting wide open in small spaces. He did a lot of Ohio State in the red zone, finds a way to get a lot of space in a phone booth. Feels like he can get open in a phone booth is how to do. So look for Chris Olave anytime score. Then the one that's a little out there, we're going to reach for it because we talked about this game earlier. The Raiders and the Chargers has potential to be a shootout. Hard to take any bets in this one, but I'm going to go with Hunter Renfrow as the first touchdown scorer in there. A lot of attention is going to be on Devontae Adams. They're without J.C. Jackson, it looks like, as well, too, so they're missing one of their horses in the secondary. Derwin James, Darren Waller, you got to imagine, are going to quote-unquote cancel out. Hunter Renfrow was cooking people down the back half of last year. The team stopped him when they double-teamed him on third down. He was cooking just about everybody, and I think unless they're going to double him and Devontae Adams, I mean, I don't know how many you can trot 14 defenders out there at this point. Like, someone's going to have to get open, and I look for the most unlikely character to get their first touchdown. So Ravens cover 6.5, Olave anytime scorer, Renfrow the first touchdown scorer. And for those of you curious about the odds, those are plus 6,773 odds. So if I bet $1, I will win $68.73. So imagine what happens when you put down 100. You see where the money could come in, and we'll check back in next week to see if DJ's best bet plays off. But next, we're going to take a quick little break, and then after that, Jim's going to take the mantle, and we're going to talk some fantasy football. So we're going to head into halftime, and we'll see you guys in just a bit.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Fantasy Football. And I am Jim Renier, of course. You know me. And this will be Jim's three-piece segment of our, a sport that we love so much and cover. We, bet money on it, and we live by the depression that is fantasy football. So this segment is going to be unique. I'm with my guys, of course. I'm going to pick two guys from positions: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight ends, and defensive linemen. And we will see if they are startable or benchable. Very easy. Let's get it off right off the bat with the quarterbacks on the slate. I have two quarterbacks that have big-time storylines going into week one. Russell Wilson makes his return to Seattle, and Baker Mayfield makes his debut against his former team, Cleveland Browns. To start off with this, Russell Wilson is going against the number 18th ranked defense from last year against fantasy quarterbacks, the Seattle Seahawks. Russell's going in there. He knows the atmosphere in Seattle. So interesting. He's projected to get around 19 points, so 20 points based on whatever fantasy football website you look at, especially with Baker Mayfield. Similar situation. He's playing against the Browns, who were number 6 against fantasy quarterbacks last year. Baker is projected to get 17 and 19 points. Two big quarterbacks in two high-packed revenge games almost, question mark. But who do you sit and who do you bench? Starting with Zach.
Ooh, between these two, I'm probably still going to go with Russ on this one to start, and I'm going to be benching Baker. Look, that defense for Cleveland was still top 5 overall last year. Not much has really changed on that side of the ball. To me, that's going to be their strength going in. With, of course, the uncertainty on the offensive side of that game, of their game plan. Baker, I know that he's got a little bit more weaponry this time around, at least in his receiving core. Nonetheless, I'm not going to trust it to give you bonkers fantasy numbers. Last year and years prior, he goes for the occasional boom game, but he's more of a bust category type of quarterback, in my opinion. And I think that this is another game, it's very much lining up for a bust. Look, if you drafted Russell Wilson, which most of you probably did, just start him. I imagine Baker maybe is your backup, possibly, but there's no reason to fuss on this, in my opinion. Put Russell in. It's a good matchup. It's against a young Seahawks team that's clearly in a rebuild mode right now. You should get some good numbers on Monday night.
Kelcey?
I'm actually going to go opposite of Zach on this one. I'm going to go Baker, and the biggest reason why is the injury report for the Carolina Panthers without CMC. That means it's going to be the Bake show. Ooh. So if they're going to have a chance in this game, and I do think Baker wants to have a chance in this game, he wants to beat the snot out of this Browns team, if you will. He's gonna be firing at all cylinders, and he's built a really good chemistry with DJ Moore, with Terrace Marshall, with Robbie Anderson. Despite the off-season commentary, he still loves to throw it up to these guys. And I do think Chuba Hubbard out of the backfield is a nice little weapon that he could use as well. If not, it's going to be Freeman as a possibility. Just kind of dink and dumping off to those guys as needed, basically to avoid the Myles Garrett situation. I just don't trust Russell in a new game, in a new situation going into Seattle. Look, I know Seattle loved Russ, but they're not going to be loving Russ in this game, and it's going to be all hatred and vitriol during the offensive possessions, and he's never experienced that in Seattle. So it's going to be a much different situation. And last time he was in Seattle, he didn't perform well either. So, and that's when he was a home team. So I don't like Russ at all in this one. I'm going to take Baker in this.
And DJ.
I don't really like either one personally. I mean, I don't think either one's going to explode, but I think I'm looking at Baker, and that is a very, very good defense, not only pass rush, but that secondary with Denzel Ward and squad is going to be difficult as well, too. Pissed off Baker likes to force things a little bit recklessly. Sometimes it works. Other times, Denzel Ward's going to take that 99 yards if you throw it inside to a flat route. He will take it 99 in the blink of an eye. So I think it's going to be an ugly game. I think he'll outperform Jacoby, but I think that's going to be a run-centered game, so I don't think he's going to explode necessarily. I think Russell Wilson will be limited, especially early, but I think that Seattle offense is so bad. He's going to get so many opportunities. They're just going to keep giving it back to him. And we forget September, Russell Wilson is a different animal compared to every other part of the year. Russell Wilson in September, he's an MVP. He's the greatest quarterback of all time for like 3 weeks roughly. And then it kind of falls off from there. So give me September Russell Wilson, who might struggle a little early, but he'll get so many opportunities. He'll be able to get you up to like that 25-ish or so points as well, too, just from sheer volume.
For me, I'll pick Baker Mayfield because I like revenge Baker. He's been circling this game. He felt mistreated against Cleveland. I think he shows out and goes, you know what, Cleveland, enjoy your 6 or 7, how many weeks without Deshaun Watson, and watch as the Cleveland Browns eliminate themselves from the postseason before Deshaun comes back. So that's my quarterback. So let's get into the running backs. And one of these running backs is very familiar from one of our co-host here, and the other one, well, he's just a superstar in the making. David Montgomery and Najee Harris. David Montgomery is going up against a very lethal defense in the San Francisco 49ers, who played, 6 against the rush last year. That's pretty good for a rushing defense. And Najee Harris is going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. Their defense was 23rd against the run last year as well. To put a little caveat on this, the last 4 games of last year, David Montgomery pretty much solidified himself a 900-yard season with big-time numbers at the end of the year. And Najee Harris, 143 all-purpose yards in 1 game in Cincinnati last year. So both these guys have done some lethal damage against their opponents in week 1. So doing snake order like how DJ did before. So DJ, who you got?
Najee Harris, not even close. I think he's going to be the leading fantasy scorer this year because especially in PPR leagues, he's going to go off, I think, through the air, on the ground. Who else are they going to go to? I mean, Deontay Johnson is nice. I think he's improved a lot the last 3 years from D-Drop Johnson or whatever they were calling him. But I think he's going to cook. Look for Najee Harris to be 1,700 all-purpose yards throughout the year, and it starts week 1 even against the Bengals. They'll get clapped. The Bengals will probably win comfortably, but Najee Harris is going to get his fantasy-wise.
And Kelcey?
Yeah, this is easy. Najee Harris all day long. I've said it long ago. I'll continue to say this and hammer this home. He is the best all-around running back to come out of Alabama, and it has been proven so far. And again, how do you have a quarterback in Mitch Trubisky, first time with his offense, with a rebuild offensive line that's still kind of growing? How do you offset that? Well, you hand the ball off to Najee Harris. Oh, and then what do you do against the blitz that Cincinnati loves to come at you with that corner blitz? You dump it off to Najee Harris in the flats on the blitz side. It's just that simple. It's a very simple game plan. Deontay Johnson coming back, playing, but without any practice time. So it's going to be a questionable situation there. I mean, he's had a week of practice time at this point. Chase Claypool, non-factor. Look, maybe George Pickens maybe rip somebody's head off, but he's not going to do anything else in the pass game. So this is going to be Najee Harris. To me, he's the only viable, reliable weapon you have in Pittsburgh from day one.
And let's give it to our Bears expert, Zach.
Yeah, Bears expert for sure. And look, I love David Montgomery. I think this is going to be continuing his upward trajectory this year overall. And if you picked him up, great. But I think if you had to do a start sit, if you happen to have both and for some reason you're overstocked at running back, you're going to be picking Najee Harris, I think, in this one. Not only just the usage that Pittsburgh had last season was insane for how much Harris was doing on that offense, and it's going to be increased with whoever is behind center, whether it's Trubisky going through a season or getting Kenny Pinkett in there. They're going to lean on him heavily because he's a multifaceted tool and that he's just a big bruiser. Also, Cincinnati last year, and things obviously can change, but they were giving up 4.3 yards per tote. That's a pretty nice clip. San Francisco's giving up slightly less at about 4, but when you add in that, when it comes to Justin Fields, they are going to try and be a little more pass heavy, you feel, this year with Luke Getzey's offense. I'm leaning that you're going to be wanting to take Najee Harris in this one if you're looking for at least, if you're taking two like good gems. I'm going to say that you got a diamond in Harris for this week, and you got a ruby in Montgomery. Still pretty good, but not as valuable as the diamond.
For me, I like what DJ and Kelcey have said. I think Najee Harris is going to be lethal in this year's fantasy, no matter what league and type of points you do in your leagues. Najee for sure. Receivers, you can say with these two receivers, new faces and new places. One of them is Christian Kirk. He will be now Trevor Lawrence's number 1 receiver. Also, a little stat that people don't understand is that only one receiver is above Christian Kirk for drop passes, and that is Cooper Kupp. The other one is Christian Kirk. Just one less drop pass from last season. It's an interesting stat. But if you've seen Jacksonville this offseason, Lawrence is going after him most of I actually went to a live practice. I was supposed to, but I seen it. They were doing a lot of passes, Chris. So he's number 1. And, of course, Tyreek Hill. Tua now with Tyreek, is he going to be like Mahomes for Tyreek? Two different receivers going to 2 different new places with 2 different quarterbacks, from Murray to Lawrence, from Mahomes to Tua. Interesting. Tyreek and Christian Kirk. Kelcey, Zach, you started off.
You know what? This is kind of a hard one for me because I actually am high on Christian Kirk this year with this setup, giving Trevor Lawrence what I consider is an up-and-coming target, someone that needed a little bit more freedom with an offense that doesn't have as many weapons on it. But I think I'm going to lean Hill. Maybe I'm buying into just what I've been seeing throughout some of the preseason, through some of the practices, some of the chemistry there. I think Tua getting a more field-spreading weapon to go alongside him with what he has with Jalen Waddle, of course, being more the utility man. I think Hill's going to open up this offense, and they're going to be going pass heavy like crazy. Lawrence and company, they're still a building team. Not saying that it's going to be impossible for Christian Kirk to make an impact right away, but I'm leaning more on the proven talent of Hill and flashes I saw with Tua last season that I'm becoming confident that this year will be at least a little more extended upon starting
Kelcey?
week 1.
Oh, sorry, Zach. Kelcey?
Yeah, I'm going to go Tyreek Hill. As despite all the complaints about Tua, let's not forget, Tyreek Hill, last time he had a bad quarterback was Matt Moore. Put up 68 yards in the game?
Yeah.
Something silly like that. So, look, Tyreek Hill doesn't need a perfect quarterback. He just needs to be able to run under something or run by someone, and he can do that in his sleep. Look, I don't trust Christian Kirk yet. I know he's built a lot of chemistry with Trevor Lawrence, but we're talking about a guy who got a huge contract in the offseason. And I don't like people who get huge contracts because, especially then they haven't proven it. Because they're now, they have to prove it. Now they have pressure. Now they have all this other extra stuff. Tyreek Hill doesn't care, at this point in time. He's coming to Miami. He's just hanging out basically with his homies on a day off. Like him and Tua, they have a connection together, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's going to be good enough. And especially between these two, I'm taking Tyreek Hill all day.
And DJ?
Give me Tyreek. He's got the explosive factor, and even if Kirk's the number 1 receiver, that means he can get the number 1 corner. We have not really seen him do with that yet. So give me Tyreek Hill for now, but I don't hate Christian Kirk as a flex type option.
And I'll wrap it up with Tyreek as well. I think Tua is a simple thing. I love Christian Kirk. I like what I've seen so far from him. But it is Jacksonville Jaguars. I do have high hopes for them, and I do have a very dark, depressing hole for them too. So I like Tyreek in that situation. Tight end situation, Darren Waller versus Kyle Pitts. Darren Waller is taking on, of course, the Chargers this week, and Kyle Pitts is taking on a ruthless New Orleans defense, who was actually the best team against tight ends in fantasy football until about week 13 of last year. Then they got destroyed at the end of the season. So let's take word back to DJ. Okay, thank you, Kelcey. DJ, you start off.
I like Kyle Pitts a lot, but I think that Saints defense is going to give a lot of players hell this year, and especially with the dinged up Drake London. I don't know who else is getting the ball with Marcus Mariota or Desmond Ridder at quarterback, so Give me Darren Waller, even though he's probably going to have to deal with Derwin James. There'll be enough random plays where they forget about him and he'll get you a little something. I think they're both going to be like 5 for 60 yards at best. I don't think either one's going ballistic. Maybe a touchdown for Waller is the difference, but give me Waller.
Kelcey?
Yeah, so I'll give the Saints credit. They got better in the position as far as dealing with a tight end. You brought in Tyrann Mathieu, who is a known tight end handler. The problem is if I have to choose my pick based off of who they're matching up against, so Kyle Pitts versus Tyrann Mathieu or Darren Waller versus Derwin James, I am not going to go against Derwin James, period. So I'm taking my opportunities with Kyle Pitts and New Orleans here. I think, look, again, DJ mentioned he's the only weapon offensively really in the pass game, so it's going to be a situation where they're going to force it to him even if he's not open, so he has an opportunity to still get some extra fantasy points there. I do like the upside of possibility of Darren Waller. If, like, for some reason they go and double team Hunter Renfrow and just ignore Darren Waller, I think it's dumb, but it's a possibility. I just don't like that Derwin James matchup particularly against Darren Waller because that is going to be number one. And I just think Tyrann Mathieu's a little bit older, a little bit slower. Kyle Pitts has a chance to take advantage there.
Zach?
You know, that this is where the case of, do you believe in the volume or do you believe in the matchup more? And I do think that I'm going to go with the volume case because much like when we talk about with London and his own and issues around what could be availability there, effectiveness there, Pitts is going to get targeted a lot. And he is their main number one guy. Remember, this is a tight end that basically is a receiver that's just barely passing as a tight end. So I think the volume's sake, you got to go with Pitts. Waller's great if you have him as a starter and, say you don't have that option, of course, because you wouldn't. But Waller will be interesting in the fact that, Derek Carr is really great at distributing the ball. So, keep that in mind. He'll get his catches. I just think Pitts will just get much more targets because of the fact he is that guy in Atlanta.
I just want to actually add a caveat there just before you go. I do have that problem of dealing with that choice. This is actually a choice I had to make for this week.
Well, Lottie freaking da! Look at you.
I'm just
I would love
I'm
to
just going to let
problem.
you know that some people did have to make that choice, and it was a hard choice. I'll tell you, that didn't go into this.
I mean, like I said, good for you. I just am amazed that you got that choice. The value.
But you got him.
Yeah.
I'm picking Darren Waller because of against the Chargers because I like the quarterbacks in there. I'm not as sold on Jameis Winston yet. Yeah, I know he got late, whatever eye surgery he may see, but if you see how he describes the human body in his last interview, it makes me not confident of him dissecting the defense so far. So, Kyle Pitts, why I say I'm thinking Mariota. Never mind. I'm getting two different quarterbacks mixed up. That's Jim's little gaffe of the week. Again, you got Marcus Mariota. He hasn't been starting in the NFL for a year. But still, it's Saints defense. See, I'm already bashing Jameis Winston already. It's not even his tight end that's getting the ball. But, yeah, I get Darren Waller. I like Carr. They got too many weapons on Raiders' offense, so I get Waller gets more of a chance than Kyle Pitts. Pitts is still a dang good tight end. I don't even have either of them in my fantasy team. So that's what happens when you have auto drafts. Let's get to the defense situation. Make it a little quick here. The two defenses I got are the Colts and the Titans defense. They're both going against two lesser opponents, quarterbacks that are not proven commodities, and they have struggling against the last couple of years. The Colts are taking on the Houston Texans, of course, David Mills. Titans are going up against the New York Giants. Of course, their situation. So let's start it off with who we end up. Let's start with Zach to wrap up the defense.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with the Titans on this one. I think that a lot of people are sleeping on the Texans and how much they have there. They're going to put up a lot better. I mean, they put up a decent fight last year. Everyone thought they were dead in the dirt. And this year, I think it's just only going to improve. So I do think that's going to be, if you have the Colts defense, it's not going to be the perfect matchup. That's the only thing I would say. I think that the Giants, to me, are still a pretty lame duck matchup, all things considered. And I think you're going to be able to get your opportunities, and they're going to make mistakes to where Tennessee can capitalize and at least keep your 10 points when you start at the beginning of the day. I think Houston will he'll keep it. It's more likely you're going to keep at base minimum, or you're going to lose out in the end of the day when it comes to that matchup. So give me Tennessee with the Giants.
Kelcey?
I'm gonna go back to your bet when you talked about the Colts Texans there, Jim. And you mentioned the Texans turning it over on their first drive and how often they turn it over, and the Colts record when they turn it over. That is a big reason why I'm going Colts. Is that turnover factor in Houston, 8-2 in Houston, and that team is fantastic. And then when you get that turnover, it's even better. So give me the Colts in this one. Obviously, without turnover king Shaq Leonard, but that's okay because they're still going to be okay. Kenny Moore is going to have himself a big game.
DJ.
Give me the Colts one too. Personnel wise, their defense is one of the best in the game, just personnel wise. And like I said earlier, 70-10 combined score their 2 meetings last year. Until I see something change, I'm gonna have to roll with that. But we'll see.
I picked the Colts as well. Same what I've said about the stats, and I think they're just it's the Houston Texans. Come on, but my boom pick of the week, fancy. Yes, this is me being a little bit of a homerism for my or 3-piece, wherever you want. Basically, Travis Etienne is making his debut in the Jacksonville Jaguars. He actually been named the starting running back. He was supposed to be something last year, got a problem with his ankle, injured his ankle. So look for Travis Etienne to get majority of the snaps as he took at the time when I was watching the practice. He took 90% of the first team reps off of James Robinson. So if you have fancy people thinking James Robinson's going to get the majority of the carries, you're out of luck. Put Travis Etienne in for that. That is my boom pick of the week. And now let's wrap up fourth quarter time with Kelcey with prime time pick'em. Let's go. Let's get into these games.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Jim. As always, you guys know how primetime pick'ems work. This is the fun time of the show where we all make our picks for the games. We talk about some of the primetime games. So this week, we're actually going to be covering 3 games in particular. And one of them's a revenge game, not necessarily prime time. It's that Panthers and Cleveland game. And I'm going to go ahead and just start out right with that one. Rip the Band-Aid off. Gentlemen, here we are. DJ, the only one picking the Browns. Do you want to defend your pick on this one at all?
The Panthers' run defense was really skeptical last year, and you got arguably the best running team in football with those running backs and a safe quarterback who won't give you a lot of opportunities, and a front line against a weaker offensive line. Baker will have his moments. He'll be able to still walk around swinging his shoulders like he likes to do, but yeah, I think the Browns are going to walk away with like a 24-21 type of game.
Gentlemen, anyone want to review him on this one?
I see where he's getting the run game, which I think that's going to be the key to victory if you are Cleveland. Leave Brissett to have as little involvement in the pass game as possible if you can do that. That's the thing. Eventually that's going to happen, though. I feel this is going to be an ugly one. Like, this is not going to be a pretty football game.
Agreed.
But I do think overall in war of attrition, Carolina to me just is more well built, and I think Baker Mayfield has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder to get this one done. I just got to take Carolina for those instances alone. If you single in on the one element of Cleveland's offense and you can find a way to do it just well enough, that might swing the tide right there.
Right. I'm going to make an interesting statement about this. This is going to be the type of situation where the better team loses this week. I still think Cleveland's the better team. Jacoby Brissett is a hell of an experienced quarterback. He kept the Colts in the playoff runs in seasons that you thought they were dead in the water. I just think right now Baker Mayfield has too much of a attitude towards Cleveland, how they treated him in his entity last year and this offseason. I think that fuels Carolina in this win. But at the end of the year, I guarantee you the Browns have a better record than the Panthers.
Yeah, I'm okay with everything everybody just said. DJ, I get where you're coming from with the Cleveland. This was actually kind of a toss-up pick for me anyways. But I do think there's a little bit of something about Baker revenge games. I think there's a moment like he plays better when he's trying to play for something, and it's as stupid as it is. As long as he doesn't, try to when he throws that pick to Denzel Ward, where Denzel Ward's trying to run it 98 yards back for a touchdown. As long as he doesn't try to tackle him, I think everything will be fine for Baker. But we'll have
pissed off Baker's not pissed off Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. I'm just saying, guys. Like, he can be pissed off all he wants.
No. Pissed off game manager Baker.
But he's had his moments of I'm angry. I'm gonna at least get a win. Yeah. That doesn't mean the rest of the season he's gonna be mad. He's gonna be mad for a week and then forget about it.
An absolute better team.
Oklahoma, Ohio State, Oklahoma.
All right. We're running out of time. All right, we're gonna move to another revenge game where this one the fan base is more pissed off than anybody else. And that's Seattle versus Denver. And it doesn't matter how pissed off the fan base is. We are going with a full sweep here. Mm-hmm. Everybody picking the Broncos. Anybody want to make a case for the Seahawks at any point in time in this one? Or are we all kind of under the assumption that Geno Smith just is not enough to carry this team?
No, I have something for the Seahawks fans. Welcome to the party. As a Patriot fan, when Tom Brady left, it stuck. To the Seattle fans, you finally get the pain that we had.
Don't do that to Seattle fans. They had all the prior 2000s to deal with.
Yeah.
Like they were
Moving
terrible.
on to the next one. We don't know pity parties. None of that.
Yeah, there's no pity for the Seahawks fans.
Seattle, I just want to say it came. It's okay. He should have ran the football. But yeah.
Somehow we somehow still got a 7 shades of
All right,
Grey
the
today.
class is current events,
understand.
not world history. Moving on.
Moving on to one of the battle royales we've talked about here. AFC
DJ.
West, it's another battle royale here. You got the Chargers versus the Raiders. Again, we're going full sweep Chargers, but honestly, I think we could all say this one could go the other way in the matter of moments. I think we all have this kind of a shootout. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but a shootout everywhere around the base. And this is just going to kind of be who has the ball last?
Pretty much, yeah.
Based on how the last game of the season ended up.
Yeah.
Who had the ball
I
last,
feel like
control the narrative.
Yeah, I feel like that's a safe bet. I mean, honestly, this is going to come down to who has the last, who doesn't make the most errors during the game. And I think that's, kind of situation where maybe you get a W at SoFi. Who knows?
I look at it as like the only thing I could say to add on is I feel like we have two teams that were most that loaded up in free agency during the offseason to kind of like bolster their roster in a very competitive division in football. I just think that, Los Angeles, a little bit more defensive prowess to match that offensive firepower in that division. And I think that's what's going to end up being the key to finish off the Raiders on, Sunday.
Khalil Mack on the other side of a Bosa brother.
Yes.
I don't
A healthy
feel
Khalil
comfortable
Mack.
with
Let's
that.
keep that in mind. He's got to be healthy, though.
Yeah.
No bang up, no bruises.
That's fair. And now, guys, this is my favorite time because we actually have a whole little moment for this. It's no longer just a joke anymore. But it's my Island of the Week pick. It's the one that I go out there and I get myself on an island and get myself in trouble 9 times out of 10.
Where are we going on vacation this time? Well, let's see the destination.
Well, unfortunately, the destination probably isn't as beautiful as the picture that it's placed on. But we're going Baltimore versus New York Jets. I have the Jets winning this one. Revenge games, baby. Joe Flacco on a horse is going to tear these guys up. And let's not forget, Breece Hall and Michael Carter are a deadly duo in the backfield. I'm ready to see them on the field, and that defense is going to come prepared. I'm questioning how much Lamar Jackson's actually sold into this team after the offseason issues.
Ooh,
It's not a revenge game when he's been off of the team for 8 years.
Well, he hasn't been on any other team starting in 8 years, so it's the closest thing as a revenge game I can get.
Maybe you're referencing Joe Cool, but I think the Joe Cool that we see from back in the day is now turned into the Steve Buscemi "How do you do, fellow kids" meme, because that's what I'm seeing. This ain't the same Joe Cool from 2012 that was going on a rampage for a Super Bowl victory.
He doesn't have to be that Joe Cool. All he has to do is get the ball to the running back and watch him work.
Okay.
I just don't understand how you're picking the Jets when they literally have a quarterback controversy. You have a man that stands like a statue that beat out your number 1 draft pick the following year. Like, come on. Now, if it was like,
There's not a quarterback controversy in New York.
in New York here, there is.
Zach
You
Wilson.
go as a normal Jets fan. It's like,
this
hey,
the hottest take of the show?
There's no quarterback controversy in New York. This is news to me if there's a quarterback controversy because
Jim has established this on the show now. This is happening now.
You think Flacco's better than Wilson? Flacco stinks.
Zach Wilson's injured.
Still.
That's why he's not playing. That's the only reason he's not playing.
You're still picking the Ravens out. You're on your own. If you win this bet, seriously, I will pay for your tickets to this island of yours.
The spice of what I thought your take was all instantly cooled down after you just said that.
Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, hold on. You heard it right there. Jim is going to pay for my ticket to the Meadowlands after New York wins this game. And I'm going to go shake Robert Sala's hand and take a picture with him and be like, actually, we're going to take a video and be like, hey, Jim, suck it.
And if you just win another game the rest of the year, you completely
It'll be like
ruin
Breeze
the season.
Airways because that's the only ticket you're going
You need to synchronize the suck it where both of you are pointing at the camera at the exact same time.
Oh, don't worry. We can figure this out. Robert Sala's a defensive-minded coach. He'll drill it into me that I'll be able to we'll be on point with this point.
Oh God. Oh God.
But that does it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, this has been a fantastic return of 4th and 4. I love that we're all back together, guys. And this is going to be how the new segment goes from now. The new show goes from now on. We got a little bit more fun in there, a little bit more entertainment, get a little bit extra benefits for your betting, your fantasy teams, and you get to enjoy our stupid picks of the week that I make. So that's always fun. But guys, we appreciate it as always. Any final words, gentlemen?
Glad to be
Gambling.
back. Gambling.
Football
Can't
is
wait.
back.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Zach. Did I offend you? I mean, NFL football is back.
There you go. Let's not set Zach off. We already have Jay Cutler still in the intro video, so
Get out of here. End the show.
ladies and
It's over
gentlemen,
now.
that'll do it for us today. Enjoy your day of football. And by the way, we're gonna actually drop Zach's question for his storyline on a poll on our Twitter page. And if you guys haven't followed that yet, go follow at 4th and 4. That way you can check it out. Join in on the conversation of whether you think starters need to start during the preseason. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate it as always.